Man UTD News, Ten Hag fumes after Newcastle, Rashford and Fernandes slammed, FA Cup tie confirmed. Manchester United are being slated from every angle following Saturday's pathetic 1-0 defeat away to Newcastle, ramping up the pressure on Erik ten Hag and his players. Manchester United suffered a damaging defeat in their hopes of closing the gap on the Champions League places after they suffered a 1-0 defeat at Newcastle on Saturday. Anthony Gordon's second-half strike was the difference between the two teams at St James's Park as United's three-match Premier League winning run came to an abrupt end. The result moves the Red Devils down to 7th, 4 points off 4th place Aston Villa. However, United could move further adrift of the top four with Villa in action against Bournemouth on Sunday. Meanwhile, Sir Jim Ratcliffe is edging closer to sealing his £1.3 billion deal to acquire a 25% stake in the club, and the Ineos chief hopes to be in control of the Red Devils' football operations by Christmas, Mirror Football understands. Stay tuned to our live blog for all the reaction the Newcastle game and the latest takeover updates. Sir Jim Ratcliffe pushing for imminent start date as Man UTD star-handed lifeline. Man UTD under investigation over claims people were served raw chicken at Old Trafford. Roy Keane has claimed he never had a bond with Sir Alex Ferguson. Speaking on Sky Sports, he said, "When I went to Forest and particularly at Manchester United, I didn't believe in it. Never any bond there. With Ferguson, it was a case of just get on with it and do your job. You get the captaincy for a reason, but that wouldn't have worked for me. I'm glad I wasn't close to a manager like that. From my experience, ultimately they throw you under the bus anyway. But that's for another day." Newcastle star aims subtle dig at Man UTD. Newcastle fullback Tino Livramento has said his side knew they would score against Manchester United if they kept pressuring Erik ten Hag's side. Speaking to Newcastle United's official club channels afterwards, the 21-year-old aimed a subtle dig at United's defensive woes. "We knew that if we kept playing the way that we did in the first half and creating lots of opportunities that it would eventually come. I think it was down to us to just keep doing what we were doing, and we definitely did that. Like I said, we then got the goal." Ten Hag has ignored Rangnick warning. Ralph Rangnick's stark warning that Erik ten Hag needed to perform open heart surgery on Manchester United's squad continues to ring true following their 1-0 defeat at Newcastle. United offered little threat all game on Saturday night and were lucky Anthony Gordon's second-half strike was the only goal they conceded. Ten Hag and Anthony Martial were seen having a go at each other during the game, while Marcus Rashford was visibly frustrated when he was taken off. And with 8 members of United's starting lineup against Newcastle also part of the squad when Rangnick was in charge 2 seasons ago, it seems Ten Hag has failed to heed his advice. "In medicine, you would say that this is an operation of the open heart," Rangnick said during his final weeks in charge. "There are more things to be changed than some little things here and some minor things there, but this is the good thing. The good thing is that it's crystal clear, it's not that difficult, you don't even need glasses to see and analyze where the problems are." United fans' response to Maguire admission speaks volumes. Manchester United fans have praised Harry Maguire in the wake of the defender's honest assessment of Saturday night's 1-0 loss at Newcastle. The former United captain, 30, was one of the few travelling players to leave St James's Park with any credit as Newcastle cantered to victory. Anthony Gordon plundered the game's only goal, but Eddie Howe's side were vastly superior to their opponents in every department and should have won by a bigger margin. United have now lost 10 matches already this season and questions continue to be asked of Erik ten Hag. He pulled no punches with his assessment after the match and neither did Maguire, who was on post-match media duties for the Red Devils. "The boys are disappointed," he told MUTV. "I don't think we played to our level and it's been a tough week. 3 away games, 6 days, but we don't use that as an excuse. We didn't play well enough, especially in the first half." Former Manchester United goalkeeper David De Gea took to social media and posted a cryptic message following yet another defeat for his old side. De Gea, 33, was controversially axed by United manager Erik ten Hag in July, having failed to agree a new contract on significantly reduced terms. The Red Devils boss then went and signed Andre Onana from Inter Milan for £47 million, a transfer which has arguably been ten Hag's biggest mistake since arriving at Old Trafford. But Onana didn't shoulder the blame for United's latest loss, a pathetic 1-0 defeat away to rivals Newcastle on Saturday. As the post-mortem ensued, De Gea appeared to give a brutal reaction by posting a cold face emoji on social media shortly after full-time. Within 9 hours, the Spaniard's post has gained more than 87,000 likes. De Gea remains unemployed, with reports of a January move to Real Betis cooling in recent weeks after the 33-year-old chose to turn down lucrative offers from clubs in Saudi Arabia over the summer. Ronaldo's demise laid bare by Cavani. Erik ten Hag's time with Cristiano Ronaldo at Manchester United was seemingly always destined to fail according to former Red Devil Edinson Cavani. The ex-United striker once claimed that he feared his own time at Old Trafford was in doubt once Ronaldo arrived due to the fact that he thought every manager felt compelled to play the five-time Ballon d'Or winner regardless of form. In contrast, Ten Hag axed the forward midway through his debut season in the dugout. In what was one of the defining periods of Ten Hag's United reign to date, he took on Ronaldo after growing dressing room unrest and an explosive tell-all interview. He won, with the club terminating his deal midway through the season. Manchester United's Portugal's forward Cristiano Ronaldo, gives a hug to Manchester United's Uruguay's forward Edinson Cavani at the end of the UEFA Champions League Group F football match between Atalanta and Manchester United at the Azzurri d'Italia Stadium, in Bergamo, on November 2, 2021. Ten Hag plays down Martial spat. Erik ten Hag has played down his row with Anthony Martial in the wake of Manchester United's disappointing 1-0 loss at Newcastle. The Dutchman grew increasingly animated on the touchline at St James's Park on Saturday night as he watched his side slump to their 10th defeat of the season. Newcastle winger Anthony Gordon plundered the winning goal for the hosts after a neat passing move. Eagle-eyed fans on social media were quick to highlight a clip which seemingly showed Ten Hag and Martial having a shouting match during the game. And while Ten Hag admitted he was more aggressive on the touchline, he refused to dwell on the incident. Wigan away confirmed. Manchester United will make the short journey to Wigan for the FA Cup third round. Ties are due to be played over the weekend of January 6. A furious Steve McClaren once again had to order Manchester United's players to go and applaud their fans following yet another pathetic performance against Newcastle. United's hardy supporters travelled 150 miles up to St James's Park, only for Erik ten Hag's Red Devils to slump to a 1-0 defeat. Once the full-time whistle had blown and United fans began to mull over their team's 10th loss in all competitions this season, a group of players chose not to walk towards the away end and applaud their supporters, who were situated high up in the freezing cold. Ten Hag's assistant coach, McClaren, stood at the top of the tunnel and instructed those who didn't bother to give their fans a clap to turn around and so. He'd issued that same demand after United's remarkable 3-0 loss at home to Newcastle in November. Erik ten Hag and Anthony Martial were spotted having a go at each other during Manchester United's 1-0 defeat at Newcastle. Martial was given the nod by Ten Hag for the Premier League clash at St James's Park on Saturday, with fellow striker Rasmus Højlund named on the bench. The Frenchman scored and provided an assist in United's recent 3-0 win against Everton at Goodison Park. Yet Martial failed to build on that performance. Ten Hag had a go at the striker midway through the first half of Saturday's game against the Magpies before tensions boiled over just before half-time, with the pair shouting and gesturing at one another. The French forward had failed to adequately track Newcastle defender Fabien Schär as he emerged from the back and played the ball to Kieran Trippier, who subsequently teed up Miguel Almiron to shoot just wide. Ratcliffe takeover latest. In more positive news, Sir Jim Ratcliffe's £1.3 billion deal to acquire a 25% stake in Manchester United is edging closer. Mirror Football understands that Ineos founder and chief executive Ratcliffe hopes to be in charge of football operations by Christmas, and appointing a sporting director is among his top priorities. A furious Erik ten Hag will talk to Marcus Rashford following his display in Manchester United's 1-0 loss at Newcastle on Saturday. The Magpies won at St James's Park thanks to Anthony Gordon's second-half goal. The result ends United's run of 3 consecutive victories in the Premier League and drops them down to 7th in the table. Newcastle, meanwhile, have jumped up to 5th. Although the margin of victory was by just 1 goal, Newcastle were by far the better side at St James's Park. They had 22 attempts on goal and boasted 59% of possession, with the visitors managing just 1 shot on target during the game. Former Manchester United goalkeeper David De Gea took to social media and posted a cryptic message following yet another defeat for his old side. De Gea, 33, was controversially axed by United manager Erik ten Hag in July, having failed to agree a new contract on significantly reduced terms. The Red Devils boss then went and signed Andre Onana from Inter Milan for